Okay, and welcome everyone to the November Aventri user group here at ASU. Welcome. Again, the user group is sponsored by the usual suspects here at University Events and Protocol. I'm Steve McGillivray, one of the two account admins for Aventri here at ASU, and the other is Laura. I don't know if Laura's logged in yet. I don't see her on the list, but if she is, she can call out. Sorry, I just saw something pop up on Zoom that distracted me. But we've got hopefully a full program for you today and answering some of those questions. Some of them seem to be hot topics right now, at least crossing our desks, that we want to address. But first thing I wanted to let you know is that because of the holidays, some things are going to change as far as Laura and ours ability to support folks. First off, there'll be no office hours next Thursday because it's Thanksgiving. In fact, there'll be reduced hours all next week because of the holiday. Also, so you know, we will not be having a December user group. That's that Thursday is the week of graduation ceremonies, and so we think everyone's going to be a little bit too busy to come to a user group, or you'll be heading out the door for the holidays like we will be, because the last 2 weeks of December also will be reduced service from Laura and I. Now, of course, as we said, Aventri's 24-hour support. You're always free to contact them if you are working over the holidays and need assistance. Laura and I are not 24/7. So just so you are aware. But one of the first things we want to talk to as we go into our agenda is that there's some updates to webinars and some of the trainings that are offered both by Aventri and by our team here. First, Aventri has changed how they are offering webinars now. It used to be they were offering live in-person webinars scheduled regularly. They have changed that now and are using a learning management system to provide training videos to all of their users. It's called Aventrain Knowledge Center. And the way it works is if you want access to this service, go to this URL, links.asu.edu/Aventri Webinars, and it will take you to a registration page where you submit a request for access. After about 24 hours, you will get an email from the system inviting you to go to the Aventrain site where you create your own password and get access to this new learning management system. Now, I just got in there today, finally got my access. I didn't realize there was a 24-hour-ish delay, but I got in there, and it looks like they have webinars for every access or every aspect of Aventri, even some things that you don't necessarily need access to, or some features in Aventri you don't use. I saw at least 55 videos in there and other resources. So if you are interested, we have updated our support site, aventri.asu.edu, so that the Aventri Webinars now takes you to that registration page. So you can fill out the form, and we also include the login link. So once you get your credentials, you can use that as well to get access to these new videos. And like I say, I haven't seen the videos myself, but I'm definitely going to dive in there and see what kind of things they offer us. Then here at ASU, we have set up our site for spring term webinars that Laura and I are offering. We are offering, again, the same series that we were offering this fall, including the Essentials class, the deep dive into registrations, part 1 and 2, and the part 3 reports and functions. And we're adding a new webinar next fall on the different features, virtual event features inside Aventri. So it's going to be a lighter schedule, though, than we had this term. We're going to be doing the entire series of Essentials registrations 1 through 3 on a weekly basis, again, Tuesdays from 3 to 4 o'clock, starting January 18th. And then we're going to only be offering the Aventri Essentials, or what we're calling Aventri Essentials Plus on a monthly basis on those dates you're showing here. Now, what's the plus? The plus is you'll still get the 1 hour Aventri Essentials class, but we're also tacking on an extra half hour with just open Q&A. Again, we're not going to be doing the Aventri registration deep dive, so if you people want to get the foundation of Essentials and then ask some additional questions, we are scheduling extra time. So if you sign up for the Essentials Plus, you'll be signed up for both the 1 hour class and the half hour Q&A. The Q&A is optional, you don't have to stay. But we just wanted to block out that time for anyone who wanted to stay and ask us questions on anything in Aventri after those Essentials trainings. And then, as I said, we're offering the new Aventri Virtual Events Features classes. And again, that'll be happening once a month, scheduled on Thursdays from 1 to 2. And this will be talking about things we talked about a user group or two ago, about the features in Aventri that ASU users have access to, the external technology, how to set that up, how to turn it on, how to set it up, and also some best practices when you are using Aventri registration sites and the VE login pages for your events. Okay, so that is new and on us. And to register, if you've never registered with us before, you go to this link shown on the screen and you can sign up. Now, if you registered for some of our sessions in the fall, we're going to ask you just to update your registrations with your new the new sessions you want to come to. And there are instructions on the registration page when you land there, and a link so that you can go to the modify registration page for yourself and update your registrations and add any of these classes. And then once you sign up, all of these sessions are recorded. They will be posted again to the webinar virtual event page, and you can return to watch those videos after the fact. Okay, now what I really wanted to jump into, which I think is the big topic of discussion today, is what I'm calling email security. We have seen a lot of support tickets coming over our desks and Aventri desks about people seeing this error message that pops up when they try to set up an email in Aventri. The email domain is not permitted. What is this about? Why am I getting that error? So I wanted to address what is going on and why it's going on. And this has been coming for a long time. Actually, it's been in place for a while, but I'm not sure why it's starting to catch people, but whatever. But the background to having any email security is that, as you can imagine, ASU is a huge target for spoofed and fraudulent email. At the time that UTO approached us, ASU Information Security Office was seeing a large rise in email spoofing tactics and more surgical approaches to getting your personal information from bad actors. So to protect legitimate ASU emails from being confused or mistakenly identified as spoofed or fraudulent email, ASU is putting in place a technology that will authenticate legitimate email and allow it to enter the asu.edu domain and reject potentially fraudulent emails. Now, this technology is called domain-based message authentication reporting or conformance, or as we call it, DMARC. Okay, so DMARC is a technology put on our ASU email servers where the domain basically has a secret code that allows the email to pass through. UTO is asking all third-party email vendors to implement this DMARC system, and Aventri is considered a third-party email vendor. So we knew this was coming for over a year. We notified you guys in June that this was coming and suggested you prepare for it. It's very simple to implement. And then when we had an email service upgrade, we were able to put in some restrictions, and those were actually activated in July of 2021. So we've actually been operating under this system since July. So how does that affect us? Well, it affects the from or sender field in both the event registration forms, the event emails, and the marketing module. And it means that you have to use this domain, this at a.asu.edu, in the from or sender email fields. Now, you don't have to do any special requests to get that email address. All you have to do is add the a dot to any existing asu.edu domain. Okay? Now, you do not have to use this in the reply to email address fields. In fact, you shouldn't. You can use any email address in the reply to, okay, of any domain, is last time I checked. So as I said, the primary ASU domain for most of us is going to be the a.asu.edu, although we do have some alternative domains set up for special use cases. And these can also be used in Aventri emails in the from and sender. Thunderbird.asu.edu has their own, and ASU365 CommunityUnion.com has their own. Now we can add other domains to the approved list or the compliant list as long as first you own the domain. That's step number one. So we're not going to be able to add gmail.com, and we're obviously not going to add asu.edu because that's, that would not be DMARC compliant for us. The other requirement is that you have access to the mail server where your owned domain is, so you can change some settings on it. But if you do have a need for an alternative domain, you can reach out to us. Just send us an email at aventri@asu.edu. Sorry, just had a little pause there. What is my email address? You can also get more information about all the security, all this DMARC stuff on our support site at this quick link, links.asu.edu/Aventri email security, to give you the full story. And again, to talk, if you have an alternative domain you would like activated, feel free to reach out for us, but it tells you more on that site about what you need. So this has been big. It's been hitting a lot of people. I'm guessing partly because of the event email beta that just came out, that people are trying to edit their emails, and that's where they're starting to hit that domain. Maybe you've forgotten that this was coming, or this is news to you. Either way, that's why you're seeing that error message. So does anyone have any questions about this? If you have any questions, you can unmute your microphone. You can post it in the Slack. I see somebody ask a question about the webinars series, and I didn't catch it. Under both your company name and this is for someone asking a question about signing up for the Aventri Aventrain series. When they ask you what your Aventri account name is, it's Arizona State University. It's the same as your company name.
So Steve, this is Debbie. I just want to make sure I'm understanding, Debbie, how so every time that I do an email, I need to physically go in, right, and make sure that my sender field has the a.asu.edu.
The first time you're creating an email, yes. I mean, once you program this into your event emails for your registration or your email in the marketing module, it will stay there. You can clone it. The value will clone. And that's what I think is happening, is people are probably cloning old event registrations, and they needed to be updated, and they just weren't back when we've been trying to get people to update. So that's why you're seeing the error. But yeah, this value clones once it's programmed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I know sometimes at ASU we've got these special things we got to do on our systems to, and it's not on Aventri, and it's not on us here, but we're team players, right? No, you do not have to add the A in front of the Thunderbird. That domain, as you see it here on the screen, is all you need to put. That whole domain was already DMARC approved, if you would. Oh, I'm sorry. I see there was a direct mention to me. Somebody was asking if we need to put the A in front of the thunderbird.asu.edu, and then the answer is no. I mean, obviously the @ sign, but no, you don't put a dot. Okay. All right. Well, if you have questions about this, feel free to reach out to Laura and I at aventri@asu.edu, or talk to us in the Slack channel, and we'd be happy to have a conversation with you about it. Now, next, we go into some of our how-to exercises, and we get this request occasionally. Somebody wants to make a registration form. Basically, they characterize it as simple as possible. If you remember the process right now, by default, the first thing you do in Aventri registration, or hopefully you do, is land on the new registration screen, and we enter your email address, and then you hit continue, and then you go to the attendee info question, and if that is the only thing you're doing, those attendee info questions, and that's the end of the registration process. There are people who would like to do that all on one page, and they've asked, is there a way to do that? And yes, there is. And let me show you that. Okay. Now, first, before I move in here, so again, I'm assuming you've cloned our template where, yes, you do land on the new registration page. If you're using a very old event where you had this activated, there is a welcome page, and you'll see that popping up, well, like here, for example. There is a welcome page, and on that page in Aventri, if you have it activated, it only has 2 buttons. It has the new registration button and the modify registration button, and that's all it really does. And early on, when we were doing Aventri back 4 years ago, you would be amazed how many attendees landing on that welcome page would not know which button to push. So we figured that it's just easier to skip that. It's a little friction point that we can easily get rid of. If you're still using the welcome page, you can turn the welcome page and 2-button page off by going under advanced settings and clicking this feature, disable the welcome page. Okay, so if you still have this activated, enable it, save and stay, and the welcome page goes away, and people then go right to the registration, the new registration page, which you usually see. Okay, so now we want to make a 1-pager, and to do that, it's actually very simple. You'll want to select all of the fields that you want to use and move them to, it'd be called the welcome page. Again, don't be freaked out. I don't know why they don't have 2 different pages. Not using that one. So just change in each field, changing that to welcome page. So what you want to do is any field you want to use on that registration form, you need to move it to the welcome page. After you've done that, make sure all other fields are disabled. Yes, I know, that's why I want to do it. One more. All right, everything should be saved there. Right, so now those fields are up here. That's lovely. I always want to have an email address field because that's what Aventri does. It knows people by their email address field. Okay, and so there is my 1-pager. Now, I have some things on the agenda. If I didn't have anything on the agenda page, I would not see that tab. Again, if I'm doing additional attendees, it will select, after I've entered this, it will take me through that routine, asking me if I want to add additional attendees, so you can still use it that way. If you are using multiple categories, they would show up on this page. But keep that in mind, as these people are showing up on the new registration page and they have not selected a category yet. So here's a couple of warnings. You're not going to be able to use category visibility to show them anything yet on the new registration page, right? Because they haven't told you what category they want to use. So if you have no categories or one category that it's coming into by default, great, this is going to work great. Basically, if I didn't have additional attendees or select agenda, I could click continue and I'd be done. I'd be right in the thank you for registering, I'd get the confirmation email, and all that business. So that is how you make a one-page registration. Any questions on that? Another thing that this will do, just so you know, is it will circumvent the pre-populate feature that we have in Aventri. If you did not know that we had this feature, under Advanced Settings, Preload Data, by default in our templates, we are preloading information from previous registration. So if an attendee has registered for any other event at ASU, and they come to your event and enter their email address and click continue, Aventri's system will look for their first name, their last name, and other account level fields that they've already filled out for other events and pre-populate that in your event registration. Well, because you've moved these fields to the new registration page, Aventri's system can't preload. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a game changer. I'm just saying that's just one of the effects of moving fields from the attendee information page to the new registration page. Okay? So any questions on that? Okay, hearing none, I will move on to the next agenda item. And this is also another question that's been coming over our desk recently, and it's a good one to cover here in the user group. We get the question, is there a way for us to restrict access to our registration site, or not to a registration site, but even just entering the registration form? Is there some way I can restrict to any means on who can come in and fill out my registration form? And yes, there are actually quite a few. Going back to Aventri. So if you want to restrict sort of everyone globally based on their email address domain or domains, you can do that by going to Advanced Settings, Pre-Approved Data. And then down here at the bottom, you can enter the email domains you're restricting to. So obviously the asu.edu is one. Maybe you want to do, I think actually Thunderbird would work with just the asu.edu since that's included. So what domains would you use? Well, who are you restricting to? Is it just ASU people? Is it a vendor and they have their own company domain? Or sponsors, or donors, or et cetera, et cetera. Some domains I would not use. It doesn't make any sense to restrict this to Gmail, right? There are too many people with you're really not restricting to anybody if you restrict this to gmail.com, okay? So I'd restrict this to company unique domains. So just enter that list like it says here, and then hit save and stay. So when people go to register, they were going to get an error message. Did I save? Yeah, they're going to get an error message and tell you what domains it has to be. Okay. Now, if you are going to use a domain restriction, I think it's a good practice to put that information up here to begin with, so people know from the get-go that they have to use an email that ends in one of these domains. Okay, so put in pre-filters, then they won't get the error message and be upset with you. Okay, so that is by domains. Now you can get more granular if you like, and if you had a list of people's email addresses that you're going to allow to register, there are two different places where you can use that. One is under attendee info active questions, you can restrict answers to the email address field. You go into edit and use the response must be from a pre-approved list to be valid. Activate that, and then you can copy and paste those email addresses here. Okay, so this is very restrictive as far as trying to keep people out of your registration site. Okay, and I'm not going to add any here, but this is where it is located. Okay, again, it is, I gotta get out of it, I guess. It is in the email address field. Response must be from pre-approved form. Now, when you use this, you have another option. You can allow auto-suggesting valid responses. I think that kind of validates the security of putting an email address here, but it's available to you if you want to try to help the people who are coming in. Remember, I would also, another way to use this, or maybe a best practice, would be to then send the invitation to those addresses with the link to this registration site, so that it can be pre-filled for them, and that it's coming from those people. Okay, so that's one place. Another place where you can add restrictions is back on the preload data page. You probably saw this. No, sorry, pre-approved data. You can put lists based on categories. So what's the use case? Well, maybe you're going to have a general admission category which anyone can come in and use, but you have a VIP or a sponsor category that you want to restrict. You want people to be able to pick those categories on the new registration page. Either way, you come to this page, select the category you want to add pre-approved data, and here again you can paste the email address field that you're going to restrict access to. Okay, you can also you can copy paste it. It looks like you can upload it from Excel, CSV, or a text field. Okay. Now, a couple of things about restricting. If you want to do that, again, think of customer service. We don't want to create a new friction point for our attendees as they're registering for the event, so make sure they understand what that restriction is. If it's domain-wise, I think a message on the new registration page is helpful. And if you're doing it based on specific email addresses, sending that email to those people using that email address would help reduce that friction. One other word of caution I have for you is, if you are going to use this, watch out if you are using the verify email address field as part of your registration process. If you don't know, or you've forgotten, the verify email address field is simply copies whatever value is put in the address field, not as a match field, but just as a second look. That's the good news. The bad news is this field can be edited. So we actually have had the situation where we had an asu.edu domain restriction on an event. People came in with their asu.edu email and new registration page, and when they got here, they changed the verify email address to another, actually I think it was gmail.com, because the attendees, some of them, were taking this as, which email address would I prefer to use, which was not its intended purpose. So it's one of the reasons why in our current templates we simply have deactivated verify email address and moved it to the inactive page, just because it seemed to be causing more problems than helping. So just wanted to give you that word of warning. So again, yes, you can restrict access to registrations by email address. You can do it by your email domain, so if globally, or with a list of email addresses specifically. You can either restrict it in the email field or in a category. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay, well, I thought this stuff was going to take a lot longer. So we've actually reached our Q&A section where we open it up to you guys to ask any questions you have on anything to do with Aventri. And again, you can open up your microphones and go ahead and ask, or put in the chat, or send a direct message to me in the chat, and happy to answer your questions. Oh, I see. There, Laura.
I have a question. This is John.
Yeah.
I saw you were logging in to Aventri using your email and password. Is there a way for us to set it up like that, or do we always have to go to aventri.asu.edu and then go through the single sign-on?
You always have to go with the single sign-on. What you were seeing is me logging into my administrator account.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. And you don't, I should say further, you don't have to go to aventri.asu.edu, John. I mean, you're happy to bookmark. I think we actually have a quick link on the site to get you to the login page. And although it's hard to program that, because as soon as you click the link, you're taken right to the SSO, you could manually create a bookmark using the short links. And I can look that up and send it to you. So that, yeah, you could just have basically a bookmark on your browser. That would take you right there. You don't have to go to the support page.
Thank you. I think I have that. I think it's links.asu.edu/Aventri-ASU-login.
That's one. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
That'll work.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's
There's been a question in the chat for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Does anyone have experience with Aventri as a ticketing system? We used Vendi, but they went out of business. Kimberly, could you elaborate a bit on what Vendi did for you?
Vendini was it was our ticketing system that we used for the Marston Theater for our planetary shows.
Mm-hmm.
And they went out of business during COVID. And so now that we're going to be coming back and doing in-person events and hosting planetary shows, we need to be able to sell tickets to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know if Aventri was a option besides doing like a Ticketmaster thing where that's just too cost prohibitive for what we.
Right. Well, I guess what I'm trying to get into is, what do you need the ticketing system to do for you? Because what I'm in Aventri, of course, you could use the barcode scanning feature in Aventri. It's going to all be email based. There's not going to be like a small ticket. It's going to be like coming in on an email.
Okay.
Where you send folks a barcode. And then if you have a barcode scanner, you can connect it and use the self-scan feature in Aventri, in that event registration, to be able to scan that barcode and mark that person as attended. Now, tricky bit for you is are you going to set up multiple registration sites, or are you going to try to set up a single registration site with lots of different event times in an agenda session setup? That people can only pick one, which can be programmed that way in Aventri.
Yeah, so they would just be picking one show, like if they were going to come to, say, like the Saturday afternoon 3:00 show. That's the only one that they would be offered. But so it's just a matter of like how we would collect their credit card information, for payment, that sort of thing.
Well, of course, in Aventri, yes, you can accept payments in Aventri. All you would need is a quick pay account, which is provided through ASU Merchant Services. And then during the registration process, after the person has given you their contact information and selected which session they're coming to, would be taken then to the QuickPay portal to submit payment and then return to Aventri after that's been successfully paid for, to confirm their registration, and then they get the confirmation emails and such. I mean, we used Aventri ourselves for ticketing system for Open Door in previous years, just to check people in, but not hard to add a payment. And of course, depending on what kind of, how complicated you want to make it, you can include different kinds of discounts or just different kinds of levels of ticketing. A couple different ways to skin that cat. It depends how much work you want to do, right?
Right. I think we're also looking to see like how cost effective it can be, and like what the fees and things would be. So maybe this is a conversation I can have with you offline, and kind of bring in my theater manager so that he can kind of share what he needs as well.
Happy to. And again, with Aventri, there's no costs from Aventri for using payments. It's all the credit card companies and the QuickPay system, and those costs are on our Aventri support page somewhere, probably around this how to set up QuickPay. I think we mentioned what the costs are, the transaction fees. Okay. But happy to have a conversation with you.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. And Amanda put a note in there. I know Gammage uses Ticketmaster, which is too cost prohibitive for what we're doing. But thank you, John, for sharing the information with me here. And I'll follow up with you, Stephen.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Yeah. No, always happy to try to leverage Aventri for solving these kind of problems, even if it's just a temporary solution till you buy new time.
We have a couple months. We're not going to be doing any public programming until like March, so we have a little bit of time.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, again, floor is open. Just a reminder again that next week we're going to have reduced support hours for Aventri. Again, no office hours. Next month, no user group. We'll see again in January, and again reduced support hours between December 20th and the 31st. And if there's just no other questions, or you just don't want to ask in front of everyone, that's fine. Feel free to reach out to Laura and I at aventri@asu.edu. If you have requests on what you would like to see us do at these user groups, you could email us there as well, or again, Slack us some ideas. We're always looking for ideas that be useful to the community. But otherwise, I'm going to give you, I guess, like 20 minutes back to your day. It was a lighter program than I thought it was going to be, but that's good. Everyone, have a happy holiday, and see you after Thanksgiving.
Thank you.